Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 5-Minute Major, where we debate the hottest topics in sports. I'm Sun Sports editor Ted Wyman. I'm joined by sports writer Ken Wiebe, and on the phone we have our sports columnist Paul Friesen. Paul is down covering the Blue Bombers today, and lots to talk about with that team as always, Paul. Huge game on Sunday. Comes right down to the Bombers versus Kevin Glenn and the Hamilton Tiger Cats for all the marbles. Who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't? Well, Hamilton can still get in even if they lose, but the Bombers are out if they lose. Some people would say when they were 3-8, they'd have been happy to have this game, but in the big picture, is this, it can't be the greatest feeling going into this situation with a possibility of missing the playoffs.
Well, no kidding. Talk about one extreme or the other, eh? I mean, but you're right. When they were 3-8, there's no way we dreamed about this possibility. So you got to give them credit for scratching and clawing back into this position. But boy, there's a lot riding on this one. I mean, not only win or go home, players' futures. Who knows? Maybe a coach's future. I don't know that, but you got to think that
it's possible.
It is possible. You got to think that if Kevin Glenn comes in here and beats the man who cut him, it's sure not a ringing endorsement of that move, and missing the playoffs is not a ringing endorsement of the program and the direction here. So that's a lot potentially at stake.
They got to have the good Michael Bishop this weekend, don't they, Kenny?
Well, I think Michael Bishop is key, but I think, to me, this is going to be about defense for the Bombers all year long. Even when they were struggling, it was about the defense and how great the defense was. And I think that defense needs to make a statement here against Kevin Glenn and company. To me, I think the X factor in the entire picture is Greg Marshall coming back here. He's a guy who believed he deserved the Bombers' head coaching job. He's going to be scheming up a storm, and I think he's the X factor, and I think his defense may be what gets Hamilton over the top in this head-to-head matchup.
The Bombers have played well in 4 of their last 6 games. They played okay for part of the BC game and then really let one slip away that they probably should have won. The one game that was horrible for them was this last game in Montreal. They got a old-fashioned butt-whooping from the Alouettes. Montreal showed them who was boss. They can't play anything like that. They have to play like the team that was doing so well, doing the right things over the last little while, and a lot of that was due to the fact when Michael Bishop was playing well, they were doing fine. I think it all rides on him. This team seems to go as he goes. There's lots of other good parts about this team, but they're not going to win if he's not playing well.
You could say that, I guess, about a lot of teams' quarterbacks, but it is especially true about this one, because when Michael Bishop doesn't play well, he seems to play really poorly. He doesn't seem to have a middle ground. It's, again, one extreme or the other. So he's the perfect quarterback for a game in which it's one extreme or the other. If they play a spectacular defensive game, they could hang in there if Michael was just average. But if Michael doesn't protect the ball and throws some picks and fumbles the ball, they're going to be in deep trouble against Hamilton. So, yeah, Michael's play is key, and it'll be fascinating to see how he rebounds from a horrible outing in Montreal.
Let's not take Fred Reed off the hook either, guys. Only 37 yards last week.
It was the offensive line.
Obviously, Bishop needs to play well, but this team was a running team before Michael Bishop got his legs and arm underneath him. I think Reed's got to have a big game. And as you mentioned, I'm sure that some of the linemen were not exactly thrilled to see those words in the paper this week.
Nor was Mike Kelly. He basically said, Fred Reed, look at yourself in the mirror. Don't blame it on the offensive line.
I talked to Abi Khan, the center, today, though, and he agreed with Fred. He said we did not open enough holes for him. So,
you still don't say it, though, do you, Freezer?
No, you don't usually say it as a running back. It's unusual to see Fred. Fred's a pretty outspoken guy, though, and says what's on his mind. And I think guys in the room, I don't think there's any resentment towards him over it. Fred is Fred. He, says things off the cuff sometimes. But
speaking of guys who say things off the cuff, Mike Kelly had once again this week made a lot of news by what he said after the Blue Bombers game against Montreal on the radio. Is there any chance that Kelly does this stuff to try to take the focus off of his players?
That'd be a real cunning idea. I don't know if I want to give him that much credit that he's, scheming that well about it. It sure did take the focus off of, a bad game from the quarterback and a bad game from the running back. But I don't think so. I think he's just an emotional guy who doesn't have a governor always kick in when he says things. He's kind of proven that all year, right? So I think that was just the heat of the moment, shooting down what he called BS media, and he's kind of felt that way all year. We know how he feels about the people who cover his team. It's not always a lot of respect.
It wasn't any news to us.
No, exactly. I don't think it was planned as a diversion, but you never know.
Kenny, last word to you.
We're all in this together. Remember Freezer? Wasn't that the introductory press conference?
Right. We are in this together until things go bad.
What he was in for was a rude awakening after saying that. Anyway, gentlemen, thanks very much for another spirited conversation on the 5-Minute Major. And to you out there for watching, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again next week.